Well, I've fucking decimated another ship. Beautiful. So, my friends, this is Luke the Duke, and I'd like to thank you for taking part in another glorious adventure brought to you by all the brilliant mod, ship, and station creators that are available on the workshop. So, my friends, for today's episode, we're trying to make it a little Star Wars themed, and we are checking out several Star Wars themed ships and stations. So, the station is called the Imperial Academy, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of learning going on here, a lot of recruits, a lot of skipping, as you can just see I just did. I don't know why I did that. So yeah, we could just skip our way all the way back to the Imperial Academy. I'm sure Darth Vader would just welcome you with open arms. Luke, welcome home, man. You'll fit right in here. So yes, my friends, we're gonna be checking out several different cool ships and the station itself. So we're gonna skip our way back there, and I'll see you guys in 1 second. Oh my god, what the fuck is this? I can't look away. Oh my, it's beautiful. Alright, just an incredible amount of room in this place. We have finally arrived, my friends. So what we're going to do first, let's just give you guys just a nice 360 view of this entire settlement. So let's take a good look at all the buildings, and then we'll look at the different ships that I've spawned into existence. So yeah, just a an immense amount of room to work around with this place. So as you can see, just giant wall right here. So I don't know, it feels very protected. I'm liking it. So it has no turrets on a majority of the walls. So as you see on the corners here, we got a couple missile turrets and regular turrets, as well as some more turrets that are sort of just scattered out here in the hills. So if anybody were to be approaching with some type of a rover, they would be sort of met with a little bit of resistance before they got too far into the settlement. So you come right here to the front entrance, and to the left we have somewhat of a ship that is somewhat ready to go. Right at the moment, it is sort of melded into the actual station. So if you wanted to remove this, you would have to do a couple things, like remove some of the light armor blocks down here and the ones on the side, and this ramp as well. So on the inside here, we have a pretty interesting design. So when I first saw this, I was like, wow, just an incredible amount of thrusters. So yeah, it's not a bad design to sort of like just compact all your atmo thrusters actually inside the ship. So as you guys can imagine, this thing's gonna be pretty much like a paperweight. It's not gonna take many hits, and then some of the thrusters are gonna pop out, and other things are gonna come loose. And so it's sort of an interesting design, to say the least. But I'm liking it. Just look half bad. So over here we got, there's just a huge amount of bunking areas. We're going to check that out here in a second. What we got right here is a little bit of somewhat of like a mini game, or sort of like a training exercise for some of the recruits, some of the Empire recruits that might be trying to join. So basically what we got here is a sensor along with a landmine, and basically if you read this panel over here, it tells you what the rules are. Basically, in order to safely disarm the mine, you will either need to get to the sensor unit and grind it down, or disable the power source that powers the sensor. So yeah, just a fun little, sort of like a minigame. I mean, nothing really explodes, so there isn't really any. We're green recruits, so you don't want your recruits exploding and dying too early in their careers. Actually, this is the Empire, so maybe that's exactly what we want, to be honest. So yeah, hydro tanks, solar panels, a very large antenna on the top here. Everything you might need. So, and also a laser antenna. So yeah, very impressive. A good idea to put all these solar panels on the side here, because you're going to generate a lot of sun from this thing. And a huge series of small cargo containers, it looks like, going all the way up to the very top to the bottom. We have a rover down here to sort of traverse this place a little. Probably not much faster than your suit, but it might be a little bit more cinematic. So these would be the bunking rooms, sort of the crew quarters, if you will. A large amount of cargo containers, as well as these bunk beds, which you can actually lay in. So I was quite surprised when I first saw this. I don't know why I was surprised, but you were actually laying down on that thing, so not bad. So all these little crew quarters are pretty much identical. So in this room, we have a makeshift basketball court, little sliding gate right here, and a little spherical ball. So if you guys watch my survival episodes, we know that Matt the Martian made a similar invention, except it was a much larger ball. It wasn't the little sphere ball. So I'm not sure how we're getting that meth thruster. I don't think that's happening. So yeah, the second store, we have the a mix between the medical room and sort of the gym area. So yeah, very impressive. Up top we have sort of a large conference room of sorts. And if we go even further up, we have a huge conference hall area. So, you know, might have giving a speech to all your cadets and telling them what they might expect in the Empire, which is pretty much a very short and very painful death. So we have several different commodities packed in to the Imperial Academy. So everything you might need to sort of brainwash a very large portion of the cadets that are coming through this place. So we have 4 crewmen's quarters. On the inside here, pretty much we just have our bunk beds along with a bunch of cargo capacity, so a bunch of lockers and stuff. And we have a couple very cool ships that we're going to be checking out here in a second. Some very, very cool ships. Along with one of my favorites of all time, the glorious TIE Fighter. So there's been a lot of different TIE Fighters I've seen on Space Engineers on the community workshop. Some of them look better than others. I think this one looks really nice. Very small, compact design. So some of them try to go a little bit bigger than others. You know, I'm not really 100% sure what the scale is compared to a 1x1 block, but the actual, you know, cannon TIE Fighter. But, you know, definitely an admirable build. Sort of, got a hydro propulsion system, so this thing's actually able to leave the planet as well as land down onto it. So this place is just massive. A massive amount of room to work in here. A large series of buildings and just an incredible giant white wall. So yeah, this place is defendable. So you go down here and it's probably one of the most impressive parts about this place is just the encased city type wall fortress area that goes into sort of like a mountain estate. Very, very impressive. So you keep some rovers in here. We go down here to somewhat of the cargo capacity for this whole place. So there's a lot of cargo in that tower out there, but we're definitely going to need some more cargo. So we have probably close to 30 cargo containers along with a bunch of batteries, timer blocks, and some oxygen tanks and all of your assemblers and upgraded modules. So that pretty much does it for the inside little cave complex. There's a lot more stuff to sort of look around inside this giant like mini town. There's a couple more rooms that are sort of more focused on like production observation, sort of like just a bunch of like LCD panels that all are hooked up to configurable LCD scripts that are all telling you your different production, all your different inventory stats, and all that good stuff. But for now, we're gonna be moving on and taking a look at one of our first ships, which is gosh darn iconic, the TIE Fighter. So this is, you know, there's so many different models of TIE Fighters out there on the workshop. This one is made by a user by the name of Prfct. He has made pretty much every Star Wars ships that I'm showing today besides the T-47 Speedster, which is the smallest one to the left of this one right now. So just an incredible TIE Fighter design. You know, some of them are a lot bigger, like I was saying before. Like some people feel the need to make them like really huge and have like their own like cockpit areas you can like walk around in and stuff. And I don't think that was like the canon TIE Fighter is pretty much just how this one is. It's just going to be pretty much a cockpit that you just get in and out of. There's not going to be like room to like move around and a coffee machine, you know, like place to put your cargo. There might be place, you know, small cargo slot of some kind, but there's not going to be any room to like move around and navigate the ship or anything like that. So we have it spinning around here, just a sexy ship. Couldn't have done it better myself, and I highly suggest you guys go check it out. Handles quite well let's talk about the defenses real quick. So it's sort of lackluster on its offensive capabilities. It's quite quick, and the 2 Gatling guns it does have are actually quite effective for how I ended up using it. But I would definitely consider replacing those Gatling guns with rocket launchers, just because in Space Engineers, the rocket launchers do like 10 times as much damage. So you may as well switch it up. So next, we're going to be moving on to the T-47 Speedster. This orange, white, very small, but very crisp and very angular looking ship. So it's a very simple design, but it also has a lot going for it. It has its own turret, and it's a small ship, so it's going to be able to be very quick. It's going to be able to get in tight corners and like squeeze in and out and make really nice turns and have a better stopping speed than most every ship out there. So on the back, as you can see here, we have sort of like a gray blast door block setup, along with a remote control block and a camera on the front, so this thing could be remotely controlled. It's definitely an impressive ship, and I've been using the hell out of it. So out of all of these ships, pretty much on the daily basis when I'm playing Space Engineers, I use this one a lot because it's just such a quick and such a fast atmospheric ship, and it's really hard to go wrong with this one. I mean, if you're trying to go into a PvP fight, you could go very wrong by choosing this ship, but for most of your other scouting missions, just going against small AI ships, it's going to do very well, if not do remarkably well. So for our last ship, we have the Acclamator Perseverance, also made by the user by the name of Prfct. So yeah, this is a very impressive build. It sort of strikes me as sort of a mini Star Destroyer, an Imperial Star Destroyer. So it sort of has that general sort of like triangular look with that little like pronged head section right here. A pretty simple design. It's not the biggest ship, but it's gonna be really easy on your FPS, as well as being sort of on the lighter side, since it's actually 100% light armor, along with some interior blocks to sort of spice things up a little bit. So there are several different entrances to get into this thing. Before we get in it, I was trying to get it on this little spinning platform right here that the T-47 is on, and that was not working. Not working in the slightest. So several different ways to access this thing. One of the ones I like to use is right here, right on the front. There's also, you can go up here, sort of like a hidden entrance, little sliding door right here. One of the mini cockpits, so sort of not the most protected cockpit, because as you can imagine, on the outside here, there's not really much armor that's surrounding you. Realistically, it's actually just one sloped block right here, so it's going to be relatively easy to blast out one slope block and then knock you out of that cockpit. So you might want to think of a different place to set yourself up. We go down here, very compact design, but it still has every such commodity you might need, like very luxurious seats. Look at these seats. Vanilla seats, you guys. So we go down here, we have sort of a workman's area, have a assembler access right here, so make ease of access throughout the whole ship a lot easier. We have a top floor and a bottom floor. We can access the hangars right here. Close up the hangars, make ourselves a little bit more protected. We go down here, and we have sort of a clone of that room, just a little bit more compact, and there's also some medical panels down here, as well as another access to an additional assembler. So yeah, a lot of room down here to work. Couple control panels to access the hangar doors on each side. A really nice decision to make these sort of like rounded, sort of like angled down ceiling right here. Just sort of gives the room a little bit more of creativity, a little more life to it. A bunch of car containers, along with some batteries with a full charge on the power cells. So yes, not the biggest ship, you guys, but definitely something to give you some inspiration, something to spice up your nights and maybe destroy some rebel scum, or get destroyed by some rebel scum, which is honestly what usually ends up happening. So I would sort of be hesitant to call that cockpit up there the front cockpit, the main cockpit. You could put another one somewhere else. There might be a hidden one I'm missing, actually. But for all intents and purposes, the cockpit would be right up here. So yes, we have a hotkey to turn on and off all of our lights. A So it looks like a mixed, yes, a mixed propulsion system between ion and hydro. Looks like the hydro is actually working quite hard to actually keep us up right here. So let's check out the speed of this thing. So this is what's good about having a Star Destroyer that's not just a massive beast, is you can actually realistically fly this thing around without having to deal with the FPS of hell, or anything else along those lines, something that might prevent you from playing this game at a reasonable frame rate or sim speed. So turning radius, not too great, but I fully came into this expecting turning radius not to be that great. So let's actually go to our hotbar. Let's hook up our rocket launchers. We only have, yes, we have 2. So for a Star Destroyer, not that many weapons, but it's more for the feel. It's more for the inspiration, my friends. So yeah, you guys, Star Wars is just such an immense source of inspiration for me. There are several different shows that I like to check out, and like just the ship schematics and the ship blueprints when I'm trying to build a new creative ship or a survival ship. One show that I've actually been looking to a lot lately is Dark Matter. I've been trying to recreate the Raza. So if you guys haven't checked out Dark Matter, it's hit or miss with some people. It's on Sci-Fi. I definitely suggest you check it out to just see if you like it. But a couple cool ship designs, a lot of cool stations. There aren't that many like really iconic ships besides the Raza in that universe. Like there are a couple other ships you see, it's just it doesn't really take a predominant amount of screen time to the point where you can actually like grow an attachment to some of these ships besides the Raza, of course. If you haven't seen Dark Matter, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But it's just like Dark Matter, Star Wars, just an immense, even way more than Dark Matter, just an immense amount of inspiration from all the different ships that George Lucas has brought into existence from his crazy mind. Actually, I don't know if that was George Lucas exactly. That might have just been some artist he hired. He might have thought of the names and stuff, but I doubt he went in and designed every. I could be wrong. He could have designed every single ship, and if he did, I apologize, George Lucas. I have somewhat of a kinship with George Lucas because our names are slightly similar. This thing slows down, not the best. Turning radius, not the best, but I came into expecting just as much. It propels itself not too bad, so its forward propulsion is a little bit better than I was expecting. So we're gonna layer down right here. Gosh, just so many great ships have been brought to us by Star Wars. So many great ships, speeder bikes, Land Rovers, just so much fucking stuff that we have to thank for Star Wars. So everybody, a couple very impressive ships, a very impressive station, a lot of inspiration behind this place. There are a couple rooms I didn't check out, and there's a couple things that you might want to go into and actually explore for yourself. So there's a little bit of a story evolving. It's just sort of like a little bit of extra information you can find in these LCD panels that are sort of scattered across some of the different rooms in here. So if you want to take the time to read all these things, they're actually pretty well. It's not really. I wouldn't really call it a story, but it's just like sort of just something fun you can look at in each room, and sort of just gives you a little bit of an idea of what might be going on in this Imperial city. So yes, I much appreciate the overall station design. A lot of production capability, a lot of storage capacity, but more than any of that, it's just a giant source of inspiration and a really nice setting. So if you want to build a Star Wars sort of themed ship, you could just delete this thing right here in the center, start your small ship, start your large ship, and you just have a nice surrounding to get yourself in the Star Wars feel. And Rogue One is coming out, you guys, and I'm excited. Some people might not be excited, and some people may be like sort of a little butthurt about the trailer. I don't know why people are so nitpicky about Star Wars sometimes. It's sort of, I don't want to compare Star Wars to Lord of the Rings, but it sort of hits me on the same note as what people were saying about The Hobbit. Like, a lot of people did not like The Hobbit. Like, they were very against it, all the Hobbit trilogy. But I was totally down for it. Like, I wasn't as excited about the Hobbit trilogy, and I didn't really like it as much as The Force Awakens. That movie had some hype, and it lived up to the hype. I liked it. I mean, there wasn't there wasn't as much Luke as I would have liked in that movie, so I'm not going to really spoil it for you guys. You guys should already have seen it by now, but let me just say there wasn't enough Luke in that movie for my tastes. But, you know, just like The Hobbit, people were sort of, you know, it had been so long since we had a good Star Wars movie that they were hesitant to accept a new one. And just like The Hobbit, people were really pissed off about it. But I was just ready to get back into Middle Earth, you know what I'm saying, you guys? And just like The Force Awakens, I was ready to get back into Star Wars. I was ready to get back into the galaxy. So, you know, it would have had to have been a really, really bad movie for me not to have enjoyed it. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, if I'm encouraging them to make shittier movies or not. It's just the nostalgia and just my eagerness to get back into the Star Wars universe sort of clouds and sort of prevents me from creating a very critical opinion of that movie. And I think it was really good. I thought The Hobbit was good too, and people fucking hated that movie. So maybe I just have different tastes, you guys. But I almost cried at the end of The Hobbit, because that was just the end of fucking Middle Earth, and it hurt. It hurt because Tolkien's stupid ass won't release the fucking whatever that massive book trilogy that he's the Simultarian, I think it's called, is like the whole entire like combined like epilogues and all the stories combined of all the dwarfs, the hobbits, the humans, before and after the events that transpired in the Fellowship to the Return of the King. So you guys, I haven't rambled on long enough. Pretty much the gist of everything I've been trying to say is fuck yeah for Star Wars, fuck yeah for Rogue One. I'm down for some new movies, and they would really have to mess it up for me not to want to see it, or for me not to recommend it, because they know what they're doing, you guys. George Lucas knows what he's doing, even if he doesn't have anything to do with it anymore. Fucking what's his name? James Cameron? I've talked long enough, you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please support the ships that will be linked in the description, and also support this glorious station. And I would like to thank you all for taking part in my channel once again and supporting each and every video I put out, you guys. I couldn't do it without you, and you make all this worthwhile. So if you want to see any ship stations in the future, please leave it in the comments. Anything that might interest you will probably interest me as well. So you guys, once again, this is Luke the Duke. A good night, and good luck.